President Donald Trump shocked global markets by announcing a 100% tariff on all Chinese imports, accusing Beijing of very hostile actions after China restricted exports of rare earth materials vital to the US economy. The move looked like revenge, a reflexive strike from a president long obsessed with tariffs. Markets instantly revolted. The Dow Jones plunged, erasing nearly $2 trillion in value in just one day. Investors feared the return of a full-scale trade war. Within hours, Trump softened his tone. On Truth Social, he wrote, "Don't worry about China, it'll all be fine. China doesn't want depression, and neither do I." It was a performance of strength that quickly turned into a self-inflicted uncertainty. While Washington's rhetoric grew erratic, Beijing stayed calm. The Ministry of Commerce issued a short statement through Xinhua. "Willful threats of high tariffs are not the right way to get along with China. We do not want a trade war, but we are not afraid of one." After that, Beijing said very little more. No fiery speeches, no dramatic retaliation. Even online, sentiment cooled quickly. Across Chinese media, one phrase captured the tone perfectly: "以不变应万变," or "stay steady to navigate all changes." It summed up the mindset of patience, restraint, and quiet confidence that volatility will eventually pass. Now, Trump's new tariff campaign isn't new at all. It is the continuation of a story nearly a decade in the making. When Trump first entered office in 2016, his wave of tariffs exposed how vulnerable global supply chains were to US pressure. In response, China began building resilience, investing heavily in semiconductor independence, EV manufacturing, renewable energy, and even agricultural self-sufficiency. By the time Trump returned to the White House in 2025, that transformation was complete. Beijing had learned the lesson, built domestic strength so that future tariffs couldn't shake the economy. That's why Chinese netizens jokingly called Trump 船坚国, or Trump the nation builder. The first big clash came in April of 2025 when Trump launched what he called a reciprocal tariff war against the world. Within days, China and the US were locked in a head-to-head escalation that sent tariffs soaring to record highs and knocked US stocks into a tailspin. While many countries gave in to US pressure, China's firm stance won applause from across the global south, from Brazil to India, and even inspired a viral cartoon titled "We Will Not Kneel." After tense rounds of negotiations from Geneva to London to Stockholm, both sides called for calm. Markets briefly believed a truce had arrived, but that silence was only the countdown to a wider confrontation. By late August, Washington had expanded X on Chinese tech and shipping firms, accusing them of helping to evade chip restrictions. Now, soon after, Trump's advisors floated the idea of banning Chinese civilian aircraft from US airspaces, a proposal that he publicly endorsed. In Beijing, these moves were read as deliberate provocations, and the response was quiet but calculated. By mid-September, China had halted new US soybean purchases, officially calling it a market adjustment. However, in the US, futures fell, and silos in the Midwest began to overflow. And Washington got the message. China could hit Trump's political base without escalating the fight. Now, within weeks, Chinese port authorities reviewed access for US-affiliated shipping companies, delaying several clearances on technical grounds. From soybean to shipping to skies, each friction deepened mistrust and tested the fragile calm, setting the stage for October's massive tariff shock. This countdown reached its climax on October the 10th, 2025, when Trump declared a 100% tariff on all Chinese imports, effective November the 1st. The new measures covered not only rare earths and strategic minerals, but also automobiles, electronics, green tech components, and medical equipment. Trump framed this as a defensive move against economic aggression, claiming that Beijing had weaponized export controls on materials vital to the US economy. Following this, markets tumbled again. European indices slid nearly 1%, and Bitcoin plunged before rebounding when Beijing chose not to retaliate. And for now, China has opted for composure over confrontation, confident that time and economic gravity will remain on its side. Trump's second term has been driven by one constant instinct: escalation. He's become, as some US commentators say, a tariff terrorist, using the threat of economic destruction not as negotiation, but as theater. Trump has turned tariffs into both a weapon and a performance, a way to project dominance over China. But beneath this spectacle lies a fundamental flaw. the US no longer has the industrial base to sustain a real trade war. No area shows this imbalance more clearly than in rare earths, the backbone of modern defense, energy and technology. China controls 70 to 80% of global refining capacity. This is a product of decades of state-backed investment, since Deng Xiaoping said the Middle East has oil and China has rare earths. The US, by contrast, has neither the facilities nor the price competitiveness to challenge that monopoly. Its only significant mine, Mountain Pass in California, still sends most of its ore to China for processing. Even with billions and billions in subsidies, rebuilding a full rare earth industry would take years, and the political will is simply not there. Now, Trump's tariffs expose a contradiction. He's punishing the very country America depends on for materials essential to its military and technology sectors. It's a trade war fought without leverage. As Trump's threats echo across markets, China remains steady in its silence. It signals confidence, not weakness, and it believes that in a volatile world, stability in itself is strength.